Hey, pal. You ready? Can you pick me up at 6:30?
I'm here.
Too late.
I'll go for 5 minutes. Move it. You're killing me. You know what, Dad? I'm good.
It may be quite a while before he's ready, but our Subaru Legacy will be waiting for him.
It's not just a sedan, it's a Subaru.
University Subaru.
Good morning and welcome to Radio Friends on Wednesday, February the 25th. As always, it's a pleasure to have you here today. Our guest today is Vera Massey, Extension. So good to have you here, Vera.
It is good to be here.
And today we are going to talk about eating, mindless eating, right, and mindful eating.
Yeah.
So what's the difference between the two?
Well, first off, eating is just such a complex, it can become a very complex thing because we get all these attitudes thrown in there. And, eating should be pleasurable. It should be a joyful experience. But for many people, it's got all kinds of emotions tied into it. And we have kind of unhealthy relationships with our food.
Yeah, I guess so. For me, eating has, especially the dinner time meal, has always been the most important time of the day, because that was a time from when I was growing up, from a little boy, we all sat down at the dinner table together. And no matter what time my father came home from work, we did not eat until my father was home. The table was always set. It was set, and we sat down, we said grace, and we ate our dinner.
And that's not always very common anymore.
No, but I still keep that tradition going.
Absolutely, and so do I. And I feel very blessed that I had that opportunity growing up, and it's something I wanted to continue because, eating these days can be rather mindless or unconscious. And I think when we do that, we miss out on a lot. And so really what's happened is we kind of lost the ability to know when we're really hungry in a physical sense versus emotional hunger. And because when we don't know what to do with our emotions, we oftentimes turn to food.
And just throw something in our mouth.
Well, yeah, because it's uncomfortable. If we're feeling uncomfortable, off balance, let's eat something, let's drink something. And that can create a kind of unhealthy relationship. So sometimes we have to kind of step back with more awareness and remind ourselves, what's the difference between being physically hungry and emotionally hungry? So for instance, when you're physically hungry, it comes on gradually. You notice sensations in the stomach.
And your stomach starts growling and grumbling and says, hey, I put some food in me.
But it kind of happens slow.
Right.
And when you eat, you feel satisfied.
Right.
And you can go a few hours. When you're emotionally hungry, it comes on all of a sudden. Like all of a sudden, and you're usually craving something. It's not that you feel a sensation in that stomach area. It's like up in the head.
Right. Or perhaps you've walked by a bakery and, or somebody is baking in the kitchen and that wonderful aroma comes out. I'm not hungry, but boy, I want a piece of that pie or a piece of that cake.
Yeah, and sometimes we go with that with full awareness.
And that's okay.
And that's okay. But when we're routinely responding to our emotions by feeding, sometimes we get more food than we actually need. Maybe we don't even get the nutrients that we're needing. And when that happens, that's our regular mode of eating, we're kind of missing out.
Right.
And so, just being aware of, do I respond by eating when I'm emotionally off balance, if that's a regular routine, then that's something we can step back as, well, what am I really needing? Sometimes you need to be comforted.
Yeah.
Maybe you need to get your rest. Sometimes people become more emotional and they react to emotions when they're tired,
right,
when they're exhausted.
I was reading an article the other day that most Americans don't get enough sleep.
We're sleep deprived.
Yeah, and if they think that you can get by with 4 or 5 hours of sleep a night, and you can't.
And what we find too is when people are sleep deprived, they usually take in more calories because they're in awake mode longer. And also it's very stressful to not get your rest. So eating becomes more common, probably that emotional eating is going to kick in more.
And chances are you're eating junk food too, which are going to be empty calories, and it's going to put on those pounds, but you're not getting the nutrients that you need.
Yeah, and sometimes we don't really always step back and remember what it feels like to be overfull.
Yeah.
Overfull, that can happen occasionally, but antacid business is big stuff. Digestion problems is a result many times of overconsumption, eating quickly, and that usually can be tied to that emotional aspect of eating.
Are you doing a class on this?
I'm going to have one coming up. I don't have the date set.
Okay, but
because
you
there's
are
great.
going to do
Oh
it.
yes,
Yeah.
oh yes. I had one back in December, and I've got a lot more people that are interested. But really, eating, we've got to put the joy back in eating, and we've got to put that aspect of having a healthy relationship with our food.
And don't you think you can help put the joy back in eating if you do it as a family? If you do it, I'd say, okay, we're not going to eat on the run tonight. And everybody is busy. Everybody is busy. Everybody's got something going. But you have to draw the line at one point and say, no, at nighttime between 6 o'clock and 7 o'clock, or 5:30 and 6:30, we're all going to be together as a family.
I think there's a lot of research showing that eating meals together as a family or eating with friends is good for us mentally, socially, and there's a lot of connections with children's ability to do well in school and in other activities. Many times, if I am eating alone at home, I set up my table. I have a placemat.
Yeah, so do I.
And I don't eat in chairs and on beds and all these other places. And so I am fully aware of what I'm doing, and I enjoy it.
Yeah.
I enjoy it. And also the other aspect of eating is actually preparing foods. Sometimes we do get busy and we got convenience food items, but there is great joy and connection to food in shopping for it, preparing it,
watching
anticipation.
it come together. Yeah, exactly. And smelling that aroma as it goes through the house, and in the springtime you're cooking inside, you walk out in the front yard or the backyard and you can smell that out there, and it's just so good.
And before long we're going to want to be planting some gardens. So thinking ahead, thinking ahead of what we can enjoy.
Yeah. If people want more information, how they contact? Call
445-9792 and say, add me to the mindful eating class info, and I'll send it to them.
All right,
445-9792.
Okay, operators are standing by right now. We're out of time for today, Vera. Thank you so much for coming by. Our program directed by Travis McMillan, Reynolds Journalism Institute, Audio Pat Akers, KPIA. Our floor director is Lowell Thomas, and our assistant producer and guest coordinator, Uncle James Mouser.